whole European delivery began as a result of needing to get back behind the wheels of an M car. After having had one and being without one for a little while, it was difficult. So after talking to my client advisor at Hendrick, he actually suggested a European delivery. I was thrilled about the idea, and after talking to a friend over at BMW, he informed me that BMW was soon going to release the new competition package. The day that competition package was released, the folks over at Hendrick flipped the switch on the car, letting it go into production. And thus began the planning for this awesome trip. Packed our bags and set up for Germany for quite a bit of a plane ride, but hey, we had fun with it, and we were stoked to get to see the car soon. Upon arrival at the airport, we were picked up by a very nice gentleman in a black BMW 7 Series. He was super nice, and him, just like all other BMW Welt employees, spoke English. He gave us a lot of pointers about what to expect when driving on German roads, the German traditions in terms of driving, and the drive from the airport to the Welt wasn't that long, so we got there pretty early. The front desk staff checked us in and took all our luggage. They informed us that the luggage would meet us back when we were ready for it at the car. From there we went upstairs and signed some basic paperwork to allow us to take delivery of the car while we were there. We also went ahead and booked our reservation to drop the vehicle back off in Munich 2 weeks from that day. At that point we had some free time, so we roamed around the Welt, checked out the gift shop, checked out the displays they had of different cars. The M2 was there. There's a lot of cool cars and a lot of neat things to check out, so we took the whole thing in. We also talked to two other M3 owners that were doing a European delivery on the same day. One of them had his wife, the other one had his family with him. Super cool guys. We talked about what we had in mind for our trip, and they told us about their stories. So it was really neat to see some other M3 enthusiasts. I had also booked us a tour of the BMW plant, which was phenomenal. We got to see where the car was born, what it went through. And at the plant, they do a really good job at taking you from what the car comes in as, which is raw materials, to the finished product, which is the ultimate driving machine. And we got to see where our car would have gone through, the process that BMW has for making sure that all their vehicles that are produced at that plant are meticulous and perfectly engineered. After we did our tour of the plant, we ended up grabbing a bite at the cafe upstairs, which is complimentary to all US-based European deliveries. From there, after we finished our meal, we were greeted by a friend who worked at the plant, and he was kind enough to give us a little bit of a behind-the-scenes tour that your average customer doesn't get to see. So we got to see the prep areas for where the cars are prepped, various conference rooms, a really neat restaurant upstairs, which turns out to be one of the only ones in the region with such a high rating. It was actually booked out for 3 months in advance. Once we finished our behind-the-scenes tour, it was time for our delivery. Our delivery specialist took us through the next few steps that we were going to do with him. They had this really neat computerized screen that had our exact car. What I mean by that, it wasn't just an M3, it wasn't just a blue car. It was our exact Tanzanite over Amero M3 competition package with all the options that I had selected. So it was our car on the screen. It was really cool to see that. So that was our first glance per se at the car. Through that system, he took us through every single bell and whistle of the car, what they do and what scenarios we would use said options. So it was a really neat and educational way to learn about the car. And he, we took as much time as we needed. He didn't rush us at all. It was really neat. After getting that virtual look at our car, we went upstairs and it was time to actually see the real car. So from there, he took us through a gated area where he had to swipe his car to let a rope off. And then we started going down this flight of stairs. Once we arrived at the first landing, there was the car. I mean, it was awesome. As I was looking at it, the car was actually turning on a turntable and a spotlight lit in it, kind of like the scene from the movies where the heavens shine upon it and there's a nice, there was the car. So we got to see it for the first time and it looked phenomenal. 4 years of planning, had gone into this, and we finally got to see it in person, so it was phenomenal. So after seeing it from a distance, we walked down to it, and the long dream had finally come to reality. All that planning, all that talking, all that thinking of what colors, what options I want, had finally formed into this just amazing piece of German engineering, and it was there. And not only was there, it was actually mine. Our delivery specialist went over the car, make sure it was set up the way I wanted it, helped me set up my M1, M2 buttons, even helped us with navigation. So he plugged in a couple addresses that we needed, and even gave us a little, history on M3s, BMW. He was really nice. I mean, he really took his time with us and educated us the right way. I had some questions in terms of driving on the Autobahn because I really wanted to try and push the car, a little bit if I could. The delivery specialist gave us some tips and suggestions on where, how, when to really take the car to its full potential. So again, from there, loaded the luggage up to the car. So it's kind of a custom for anyone that takes a European delivery to do what they call an inaugural drive around the Welt. So we did that, went downstairs, and off we went. From Munich, we actually drove straight to Stuttgart to kind of break in our drive, spent the night there, and then from Stuttgart, we drove straight to visit my family in Strasbourg. Of course, during that drive, we passed several sections of the famous Autobahn that has no speed limit. I gave the car a little bit of gas, but I was cautious of making sure it was still within its braking period. So I didn't push it too hard. So we drove around Germany for a while, we drove around France for a while, spent some time in Paris. Quite a bit of a hectic driving in Paris, especially if you're not used to the way big roundabouts are. It was a little nerve-wracking. There's also just a lot of crazy driving because you share lanes with motorcycles, so you have to be cautious of that. After doing our thing in Paris, drove back to Strasbourg, spent some more time with the family. Then it was time to drive back to Munich and drop the car off. By then the car had seen well over 1,200 miles, had gotten his first oil change, and it was time to really test it out. So on the Autobahn, I did a couple passes where I kind of wanted to test the waters a little bit. So the first one I think ended up being over 150 miles per hour. So I was pretty satisfied with that, but unfortunately I ran out of road. Second pass, I had plenty of road, so I took it as far as I could. 166 miles per hour. So the GPS was telling me I actually ended up doing 161 miles per hour. The only reason why I stopped at 161 or 66, whatever you want to call it, is that obviously it has a US spec governor on it. So that electronic device stopped us. So I could tell that the car had a lot more in it. A little hint, there'll probably be some future videos of exceeding those specifications. So, you know, to be continued on that part. We ended up getting a lot of neat footage through a dash cam from the folks over at Blackvue. Really nice camera, really good quality of recording. I also have a separate video talking about the Blackvue camera. Be sure to check it out on my channel. Audio was surprisingly really good for a dash cam too. So make sure you check them out. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. There'll be a lot more to come, especially once the car is stateside. I have a ton planned for this car. We'll have some guest appearances here too, as well with some other M3 owners or other M owners or other car owners, period. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Tanzanite Monster, all in one word. And look forward to getting some feedback from you guys. Stay tuned while I finally get to bring the Tanzanite Monster home after a long period of waiting.